Hey there, We Can't Wrestle podcast listeners. If you haven't noticed, we have switched our server to Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. So go ahead, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Highly recommended by me and everybody else here at the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Hey, this is a national treasure and the real world's champion, Nick Aldis. And just when you thought that every possible wrestling podcast name in the world was taken, Nate comes in with a clinch with the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Based on Nate's unbelievable level of praise for me, I would go ahead and say that Nate sounds like a knowledgeable, smart, trustworthy human being, and his expertise should be lauded and appreciated by all of the listeners of the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
You're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Now it's time for our host, Nate Manson.
Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome once again to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Last week's show was not postponed because of COVID-19. Don't worry, it was postponed because Spectrum has shitty internet. Nate Maxon here with you.
Spectrum got AIDS, yo.
Nate Maxon here, along with my brother Aaron, and our special guests this week. First of all, welcome back to the show, Mr. Archie Mitchell. Archie, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast.
Yeah, thank you, guys. It's always fun to be here. We always have a crack of time. I have an appointment at 7 a.m., so if we could get it done by 6:45, I'd be happy.
That's great. And for this show, that might be doable. It might be doable. And, of course, also with us is Mr. Chris Wood. Chris, how are you, my friend?
Howdy, howdy. Thanks for having me on again.
Yes, sir.
This show will be like Tammy sits now at the right angle.
Jesus Christ.
You catch her in the right light. She's still doable.
Oofa.
All right, go ahead.
And who is that off in the background? We always joke when he appears on the show nowadays. He's doing a run-in. Kyle Army is here.
I'm back.
Kyle Army, the star of We Can't Wrestle Live. Kyle Sleeveless Army is joining us on the pod. What's up, OG?
Not much. I'm like Brock Lesnar, just more fat.
Maybe not. He's a little portly.
So you're like Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Paul Heyman looks like a condominium at this point. Like he's just huge everywhere. You know, head, ass.
In his old age, he's getting rounder. I don't know what happened to him.
And perfectly round too. Like
right.
Paul Heyman is like the perfect human embodiment of what the Penguin would look like if he was real. You got rid of that stupid fucking ponytail.
God damn it, give that man a monocle.
The ponytail is what was keeping him skinny, guys. The minute he cut it, he got fat.
He pulled all the fat back with that pony.
He's like fat Samson.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The fucking Bible guy, Samson or whatever, they cut his hair off and they fucking blew into dust. Fucking Heyman turned into like a fucking...
Heyman's like, damn you, Delilah.
The wife sneaks up on him, goes to cut his ponytail. Don't do it. Cuts it off. I need a sandwich now.
Hey, guys,
I lost my ponytail today.
With the coronavirus really being a thing, and we're probably all going to die, remember back, well, you guys wouldn't remember, but you know how like back in the day, Like when you were on your deathbed, like the last thing you said.
Yeah, I totally
what they-
remember the last time I was on my deathbed.
I said, remember when people, not remember, but you know how like people used to be on their deathbed and the last thing they would say would be what they put on their tombstone?
Yes.
Mhm.
I think what's going to happen is the last thing we text is
Yeah.
what they're going to put on our tombstone.
I agree with that.
So I want to go around the room. I want to go around the room real quick and hear what's on everybody's tombstone.
You don't want to hear what's on mine.
Yeah, I do.
Mine's great. Just
I'm
stop.
gonna put mine is gonna be. I can't remember what serial killer it was, but you know how
No,
to give everyone the
Kyle,
last meal.
it's the last thing you texted on your phone.
Hang on, but it is. They give everyone their last meal, right? He asked for SpaghettiOs, and no shit, his last words before they executed him was, "I didn't get my SpaghettiOs."
Nice.
So from now, the rest of the time, like that is his last words before leaving this mortal earth is, "I didn't get my SpaghettiOs." And I want that on my tombstone. I want people to be like, "Fuck, did the man get his SpaghettiOs?"
Why didn't they just give him SpaghettiOs?
Well, if nobody else wants to share, I'm going to share what if the last thing you text is what goes on your tombstone, I will share what mine is. You guys
I
ready?
told you what mine was.
I'm disappointed in mine if I have to share it. I'll share it, but I'm disappointed in mine.
Chris, I didn't hear what yours was.
Because all I've been getting is like those spam emails. Literally, the last 4 texts I've sent are nothing but stop.
Here lies Chris Wood. Stop.
Stop.
Well, Archie, if you want to go first before me, you can.
Someone texted me their idea for a raffle that they're doing in another group, and my exact words back to them were, "I like it, Faggy McFaggerson." I don't know why. But it just came out, and I'm sorry.
I just,
Oh,
I
no,
just,
that's great.
I just picture someone going up to your tombstone, going, Peggy McFingers.
I just imagine someone going to your tombstone and seeing that and then Googling the name Faggy McFaggerson to
Right.
see who comes up.
Right. What is he talking about?
Well, you guys ready for mine?
Yes.
Nate already knows what it is because I sent it to him.
Oh, God.
But mine would be, did you get a hold of everyone? Question mark. I got to poop before we start.
His is, Aaron's is, here lies Aaron Maxon. Did you get a hold of everyone? I gotta poop before we start.
Oh, God.
And mine, because of him, is here lies Nate Maxon. Sounds like everyone is joining. it's so nondescript. It's great.
Yeah,
Well,
the thing
okay.
is, with the ongoing virus right now, it's like the most fitting. So
True.
Oh, God, that's so bad.
I got to poop before we start.
He had to poop before we started.
He always poops.
Mine was, do you know where the Roku remote is?
Here lies Kyle Army. Do you know where the Roku remote is? And some guys at your tombstone going, fuck, I don't know where my Roku remote is.
No, people that visit him are bringing him Roku remotes and leaving him on his tombstone.
that's the vigil. It's candles and Roku remotes.
It's right here, brother. It's right here.
It's right here. It's right where you left it.
well, if Kyle gets what he wants, it's going to be Roku remotes and Kansas SpaghettiOs all over his headstone.
Saturday night.
There won't be any Kansas SpaghettiOs because assholes have bought them all and hoarded them.
That's probably why Aaron's tombstone says something about pooping because, well, no toilet paper either.
Yeah, true. That's what's going to be on
You
Aaron's.
have all of that.
Aaron's vigil will be toilet paper.
Since the virus has started, I've had 7 rolls of toilet paper, and I still have 7 rolls of toilet paper.
Then you have a problem.
Tell you guys a funny story, and then So we get our toilet paper, paper towels, laundry detergent, etc., from Amazon. It's a subscription thing. You can just pay, it pays every month, and the shit comes in a box to my house. So for about, 3 months, they send you an email every month saying, would you like to take anything off this order this month? So for 3 months, I forgot to take toilet paper off the order, and 2 weeks ago, I was pissed and looked at my wife and said, we have way too much goddamn toilet paper. And now, I'm king of the jungle.
You're the guy on Marketplace that's selling it for 4 times its dollar amount, aren't you?
What I'm trying to figure out is when you go to the store, there's no toilet paper and no cheese. That doesn't add up.
Those two do not add up.
Really doesn't.
If you're out of one, there should be some of the other.
I went to Walmart last week, and the manager's doing an announcement on loudspeaker. We have no hand sanitizer, but we have plenty of soap. And all I kept thinking was, that doesn't add up. Because they're supposed to be washing their hands.
Right. And were these people washing their hands and wiping their ass before this all started is the biggest question.
Right.
The most fitting thing to end WrestleMania. Oh, I just thought of this. You know what should happen at the end of WrestleMania? If Brock Lesnar wins, who should come out and attack him? Ron Reese.
As the Yeti?
As the Yeti. But he's completely wrapped in toilet paper.
And have a bunch of Karens chasing him.
Yeah.
I think it's 24 title. Toilet paper.
So now that we have had that amazing conversation about tombstones, this week's show, we're in WrestleMania season, so we are going to review some WrestleManias, and we were gonna do this last week, but again, my internet was garbage. This week we are reviewing 1991. It is Wrestlemania VII. The way this came about was Aaron had me pick a random number between 1 and 18. I picked 7, and that's how we got here. So that's how simple production of a podcast can be, people.
You didn't like 11 or 13?
Well,
or
I didn't.
15?
I didn't tell him what it was. I
know.
Pick a number.
Why 7, Nate?
Why 7? I really. It's my favorite Prince song. I mean, maybe that's.
Oh. Okay.
What?
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 Are we going to do a Prince episode now?
Later. 7's a good song, but come on now.
What do you got?
Go
Bat dance?
crazy.
What do you got? Bat dance?
Let's go crazy. Raspberry Beret.
I'm not saying that any of them are bad.
7. Should have been it's a kick-ass movie.
It is a kick. Also a kick. Maybe 7.
No.
7 just resonates with me.
Wait a minute. Hold on 1 second. Are you meaning to tell me you picked the number 7 and it was WrestleMania 7?
Yes.
What the fuck, Aaron? Did you just fucking... Do they pick 1 through 10? It's WrestleMania 1 through 10.
No. He just told me randomly in a text message, pick a number between 1 and 18, and I picked 7, and he said, then that's the WrestleMania we're going to review. So I had no idea that it was going to be
going in.
Aaron knew exactly what number you were going to pick, though. He had 7.
I didn't know what... Jesus Christ, guys. You're getting lost in the fucking weeds. Nate had no topic for the show. I said, what are we going to talk about? And he said, I have no fucking idea. And I said,
that's not exactly what I said.
It's what you inferred because you didn't text me anything back. I texted, what are we going to talk about on the show? Nothing. So I said, pick a fucking number between 1 and 18. And then you said 7. And I said, fine, that's the fucking WrestleMania we're going to talk about. That was the production meeting. Stop overthinking it.
And I was like, that's hot shit, pal. And There's your production meeting. All right.
Well, and how weird is it that we're?
I am Nate's Bruce Pritchard to his Vince. I just give him an idea and then he goes with it.
I like it, pal.
Well, how appropriate are we picking a WrestleMania that had to leave the LA Coliseum and go to Sports Arena when we're actually talking about a WrestleMania that is not going to be at wherever the hell it is there in Florida now. It's going to be at the Performance Center.
At the Performance Center. And they say multiple locations. Does that mean, like, multiple locations meaning there's numerous buildings with rings in them? Is that what we're talking about?
No, what I've been reading is that the actual wrestling matches will happen at the Performance Center over Saturday and Sunday. And when they gotta like do like an interview or maybe a look back at how the storyline began, they're gonna
do it in advance.
One of the guys on ESPN that works for ESPN and Fox and let them be from like another remote area talking about it.
Okay. And I did read that they since it's going to be with no audience, et cetera, they're actually thinking about even pre-taping some matches and some segments so they don't have as many people in the building at the same time.
After tonight, they're taping the next 2 Raws and the next 2 SmackDowns leading into WrestleMania on Monday.
Well, it's because you can only have so many people inside a building or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. I think the number is 10 right now at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like only the government was like non-essential people have to stay home, and Elias and Baron Corbin were like shit.
Right. Well, here's the really bad part. You ready for the real?
At least Nate. At least Nate.
I fucking hate Baron Corbin.
The horrible part of it all is they had to cancel the 2 WrestleMania Battle Royals, the men's and the women's, because that's 30 people each, and they couldn't bring 60 people to the arena.
Yeah.
So everybody who thought they were getting a WrestleMania payday, they got a phone call like, "Stay the fuck home. We don't need you here."
Did they ever say? And this can be the Nate. I know you want to keep shit on
it's okay.
Horse or whatever, but did they say what they're doing about the Hall of Fame?
Yes,
I heard
SummerSlam.
Yeah, the rumor is SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Like, I was worried, and I know people can say what they want to say about the Hall of Fame or whatever, that, it's stupid. But it's not stupid for the guys that are, and the gals that are doing it, that are, like, getting honored or whatever. And I was worried about that. It's like,
Definitely. Bulldog and Liger and Vader going in was a big deal. So, I mean, they can't, that'd be horrible to rob them of that.
Yeah, like Vader's family, they should get the opportunity to be able to go and get accolades from the people that, appreciate him. So I'm cool with that. And I know everybody's saying, they should have canceled everything else. No, don't cancel it. Do whatever you got to do. But I was just worried that the Hall of Fame would have just been like somebody sitting down getting interviewed by fucking Michael Cole or something. So I'm cool with that.
There's been reports that Vince is doing this as damage control because his insurance company, he has to try to save face with them, and by doing it at the Performance Center, if they end up telling him, look, it's not worth it, then he gets a boatload of money from his insurance company for damages. But by him, if he's the one that pulls the plug, then his insurance company can take money from him. He'd owe Tampa the money that they paid him for them coming to the Florida. So he runs the risk of losing a lot of money.
And that was why Tampa and Vince were playing chicken for a week and a half. Because nobody wanted to pull the plug, because whoever pulled the plug suffered the financial hardship of the whole thing. The people I feel the worst for are the indie feds. A friend of Aaron and I, Mr. Barry Rose, was going to have a Championship Wrestling from Florida reunion down there during WrestleMania weekend that he has to pull the plug on. I feel bad for all the incendiary people that were around that were gonna, because WrestleMania is a huge thing for everybody in the business.
No, that all the indie feds, all the young guys who were going to be getting work, and then all of the international people who bought tickets and bought plane tickets and can't now get refunds. People who were coming from the United Kingdom and wherever. It's not just about the United States. It's about so many other people getting the raw end of the deal here.
Absolutely.
They might get their ruples back.
They might.
So speaking of,
I mean, you guys know what we're getting, right? For WrestleMania, it is going to be the NXT takeover mixed in with everything else.
What do you mean?
So they canceled NXT takeover, right? They expanded out over 2 days. We're not getting 2 days of 3-hour pay-per-views. Oh no, I guarantee you, it's going to be 2 days of 8-hour pay-per-views. All the NXT matches thrown in.
Pack a fucking lunch. Jesus.
More than likely. Which I can't watch all that, so I'll wait till it airs and just fast forward.
Yeah.
As much as I know everybody on this show right now is a wrestling fan, as far as entertainment goes, I think all of us can say that our favorite form of entertainment is wrestling. We live, sleep, eat, and breathe it. But sometimes it's just too much. It's just too much.
I put out there what I think they should do. I think they should do, as long as this is going on, they should do basically shows that were like Primetime Wrestling and TNT.
Yeah.
And I agree with that.
Do that. And don't write it. Like, you can write the Primetime thing, like if you take like Corey Graves and Michael Cole and put them on a studio set and just pitch it to matches, Right. Like, hey, let's look at this match from Clash of the Champions, or let's look at this match from Raw last week or whatever. And they tape everything. They tape every house show. Nate, you and I went to a couple house shows. They film all of it.
Yes, they do. They film
it. They do have matches they can show. I agree with that.
Yeah, so just show a couple house show matches that you haven't seen,
Right.
But also just do fucking TNT and let and Pete, you guys might poo-poo this, but Michael Cole, when you don't produce the guy, is pretty goddamn funny.
If he's not produced,
he's quick-witted as fuck.
He is. I mean, and anybody that has not, if you want to listen to Michael Cole unproduced on commentary, watch him when he does the UK pay-per-views, when he has done them before. He's not produced on those, and he's a fantastic play-by-play guy, and he's witty.
Or if you want to hear the guy quick-witted, dig into like the weeds of YouTube and find the studio or the satellite broadcasts of like SmackDown. Nate, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
Where
cut the commercial, but they're still talking over the matches.
Yeah, that's fucking Michael Cole. Let Michael Cole do like a TNT type deal where, hey, we're not going to produce Michael Cole, and we're going to sit him out there, and he's going to interview like the New Day, but we're not going to produce the New Day. We're just going to let them show their personality. Or we're going to put Michael Cole with his sidekick, fucking, I don't know, any of those guys, Byron Saxton, and he can make fun of Byron Saxton for an hour.
Please.
And like he brings out fucking Randy Orton. He's going to interview Randy Orton on the set. And let Randy Orton be Randy Orton. You know what I mean?
Here's the thing. I will agree with you on that one. Any wrestler or announcer not produced, when you let them go organically and speak from themselves, is entertaining. So all they'd have to do, like you said, is put them in a studio type setting, do an interview, and then if you want to cause drama and prolong storylines, is let the guy's rival break in on the interview and try to get into a fight with him and have security pull them out, and that's it. That's 5 people total.
Yeah. And they had done it. They did the talk smack, and it went over well. I mean, look at what they did for the Miz and everything else.
And the other benefit you're going to do is if you take these guys and you put them in an environment where, okay, We're going to take a Michael Cole. We're going to sit him behind a desk. We're going to take, for however long this lasts, these guys and put them out there and let them organically speak and still work the angles going into WrestleMania or whatever you're doing. Guess what might happen? You might find a guy or a gal that you had no idea what they were capable of and be like, holy shit. This person
I turned on SmackDown for 4 minutes tonight, all of 4 minutes, and the first thing that popped up, it's the contract signing between Goldberg and Roman Reigns, and I'm like, who the fuck wants to watch two guys in an empty arena sign a contract tonight? You know, no one cares about Goldberg, and you're still stuffing Roman Reigns down our throats. So how about not sign that contract and let The Fiend and John Cena do another interview like they did 2 weeks ago?
Which was fantastic.
Right.
Because they hate us.
Right now, Vince McMahon hates everybody, I think.
Yeah.
We're all
Like, you're not going to have WrestleMania?
You're all gonna suffer, pal.
He's blaming everybody for the coronavirus.
Right.
It's your fault. God damn.
No, he's not. No, he's not blaming Saudi Arabia. He's probably on the phone with Saudi Arabia going, I should have just held WrestleMania there. I'm sorry.
I'll bring Yokozuna this time, I promise.
Right.
We are going back in time here to WrestleMania VII. We're talking March 24th, 1991, the city of Los Angeles, California. And we're at the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena, which Kyle had alluded to earlier was not where we were originally going to be having this show. 16,158 in attendance. And we'll talk about the Hogan Slaughter angle later on in the show, obviously. But who believes their story and who believes the real story on why that venue was changed?
I think the two go hand in hand. I think that I'm sure that the government came to them and was like, look, this may not be safe, and that was all the reason they needed. They're like, oh, great, we got an out.
Yeah, because
we got an out now.
Right, we've only sold 10,000 tickets to this fucking thing, and it's going to start in about 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure Vince McMahon was wiping his brow like, oh, thank God.
You saved us.
Yes. Thank you, death threats. Thank you. You saved us.
Talk about a drop in attendance, though, from 6 to 7. I mean...
Oh, absolutely.
90,000 to 16,000 because you went Warrior Hogan at 6, Hogan Slaughter at 7, because that's what every kid wanted to see was Sergeant Slaughter as a World Heavyweight Champion, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, and what my question to that is... because after the Hogan-Savage feud cooled off in 89, heading into 90, yes, Warrior was over, but obviously his title reign proves that he was not the draw Hogan was. He was not the draw that Vince thought he was going to be. Business started cooling down in late 89 going into 90. So I guess my question is, domestically, if they would have held WrestleMania domestically and not in Canada in 1990, do you think it still would have drawn as big as it did being held in the Sky Dome? And I think no. I think in the States, they probably would have run into the same situation they ran into at 7.
Possibly, yes. Maybe in like with SummerSlam and Wembley Stadium, if they would have done that, they might have sold out and had a crazy, attraction crowd. Because obviously London and England wants pay-per-views. They've been wanting WrestleMania for years.
I think people wanted the mullet versus the skullet. I think it would have sold.
I agree. I don't know how they didn't go back to Hogan versus Savage by 7 to let them, granted Warrior wasn't the draw, but I mean, Warrior could have dropped that title to Savage and we could have had Hogan versus Savage at 7, which would have been our rematch from 5. And maybe you let Savage go over this time.
Right.
Or even if you want Savage even if Savage wants to take time off, why not do Hogan versus Savage with, hey, whoever loses is retiring.
Right.
Yeah. Title and career. Yeah. But what we got was good. Now we start the show off with our, as my notes say here, the national anthem sung by Willie Make-A-Wish Nelson.
God, who smoked pot with him and convinced him that it was a good idea to wear all that shit out there?
Especially
This
I
is
actually
what
wrote down. It looks like they took Willie Nelson to the merch table, grabbed an armful of stuff, and was like, "Put this on, what? All of it."
You're the Intercontinental Champion tonight, Willie.
this is what I put. I think Willie Nelson is wearing more gimmicks than the early '90s Diamond Dallas Page.
You give him like a good-looking
killed.
Has anyone ever seen the movie Office Space?
Yeah.
Okay, when the manager kept telling her, "You need more pieces of flair." I feel that's what they did to poor Willie Nelson. You need more. No, more. Put on a hat. Put on a shirt. Yeah, but I just want to wear my bandana and my vest. I don't want to. No, put on more, Willie. You got to go out there and represent.
Glasses, bitch.
And Willie was like, "Oh, say, can't you see? I have too much on."
Well, he weighed 100 pounds, but he was wearing 200 pounds more to get.
Yeah.
Like I said, they couldn't even give him a good, like a nice looking Intercontinental title. They gave him the damn foam one.
But you guys are missing.
Oh,
You guys are missing the beautiful part. He fucking killed it, man.
He did.
It is one of the best renditions of America the Beautiful ever. He had no band. It was just him, and it was just Nelson being fucking amazing. It was fantastic. I love me some Willie Nelson. One of my favorite songs, and none of you guys are even going to know it, is the Willie Nelson song, Buddy. Do you guys know the song Buddy?
I know, Buddy.
I think so.
Great song. Laugh with me, buddy. It's fucking great. But when I hear Willie Nelson sing, I feel fantastic inside.
How fantastic did you feel when Gorilla introduced his special color commentator for the next match? Hacksaw Jim Duggan.
Jesus.
Let me tell you
If there
something,
was
Gorilla.
one person who didn't keep live mic, it was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That's my opinion.
My God! At first, I was like, okay, this is gonna be kind of fun, and then like within I don't know 2 seconds, I'm like, oh, never mind.
I think Hacksaw Jim Duggan did a good goddamn job on commentary.
Really?
Yes.
I thought, I don't know.
I barely understood anything he said, but okay.
With the big top hat and the commentary, I wanted to call him a Pauline Creed. That's what I wanted to call him. I did not enjoy Hacksaw on commentary.
That's funny. But he did a good job. And I'm going to say this. That but fucking crowd. Compared to what?
Compared to what did he do a good job, though, is what I want to know.
I'm going to say this. And you guys are going to get mad. Okay, so get mad. Whatever. My favorite wrestler of all time is the Macho Man Randy Savage.
Okay.
Randy Savage was a fucking terrible commentator.
Well, I would agree with you.
Fucking terrible. But in this one match alone, Jim Duggan did a better job commentating than Randy Savage did his entire time commentating.
But Randy Savage wasn't really meant to be there to be a commentator. He was meant to be there just to be on television so they can keep him relevant.
He didn't want to be commentating either, so.
Right.
I'm just saying, I didn't mind Jim Duggan on commentary. Didn't mind him.
Vince told Randy Savage, look, you slept with my daughter, now you got to do commentary before you leave the WCW.
I mean...
So anyway, I thought Jim Duggan did okay.
All right, so
and I liked his big hat and his stupid outfit. It was fun to me. I enjoyed it. And I'm gonna say this: this fucking crowd, okay? They started loud, and they just fucking went the entire time.
Yeah,
this fucking crowd was lit as fuck.
Yeah, this was a hot crowd for this Mania.
The whole fucking night.
The Rockers do a promo, and then we get a match between the Rockers and the Barbarian and Haku, and I wrote, of course this match was good. considering everybody that's in it, this was a great tag team match.
Barbarian, Nate, you know I'm going to say this. Fucking Barbarian is critically underrated.
Yes.
Critically underrated.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And Barbarian and Haku together is one of my favorite combinations ever. Like when they wound up in WCW, when they were the Faces of Fear, fucking badass. This fucking match is fantastic.
How did they never get the right run? Like Heenan as their manager the first time in WWF, and then Jimmy Hart as their manager in WCW, and never got a single solitary tag team title run.
I think it's funny because they are two of, and this is just my assertion, obviously, and the show's called We Can't Wrestle. None of us are workers, none of us are, but my assertion from talking to people I've talked to or seeing things that I've seen or shoot interviews or what have you is these guys are two of the most badass dudes in pro wrestling history, but they are also two of the most least political and non-confrontational guys. So I think that maybe being soft-spoken, non-political guys who were just, they were just happy to be in the business in great hands, and I think they probably just never ruffled enough feathers in the, because those are the guys that get the fucking belts. I mean, let's be honest. Very rarely does a guy who doesn't play politics get to be champion.
They're like the Bob Holly of tag team wrestling.
Good point, but I mean, to lose to the Rock, look, the Rockers were a great established tag team at this point.
Oh, the right team won this match.
The Rockers, yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Rockers, to beat them made no sense because it's like, all right, the Rockers were beating teams like the Orient Express and the Beverly Brothers, but Haku and the Barbarian were like 3 times the size of them. So,
Well, I think the Rockers should have won the match, and I'm just saying, like, the reason Barbarian and Haku never really got a fair shake is, like what Nate was saying, was that they were just two dudes that were out there like, hey, we're going to go out there, we're going to do business, we're going to make our money, and then we're going to go home and whatever.
Bite a guy's fucking nose off if he messes with me.
Right.
Mr. Army, Mr. Wood.
Call me fake, I'll make you eat your own dick.
Mr. Army, Mr. Wood, do you guys have thoughts on this match?
Here's my problem with this show overall, is that it's a good show. It's just, there's so much crammed into it, and nothing really gets time. Except for, really the Ultimate Warrior Randy Savage match and the Hogan Slaughter match, nothing really gets a lot of time to actually build story. Just when you get into it, boom, it's over.
And that was kind of a if you look back at it, that was kind of a symptom, or I guess not a symptom, but a flaw of most of those first 7 WrestleManias. There weren't, unless it was one of those 2 big attraction matches, you probably got, 6 to 8 minutes, and you were out of there. You look at WrestleMania 3, heralded as one of the greatest cards of all time, and then you watch the card, and there's a couple of good matches on it. And I'm not hating on the card at all. I mean, it's WrestleMania, it was cool, but there's not a lot of great matches on that card.
Well, let's say this, guys, okay? We're going to say, oh, this didn't get a lot of time, or that didn't get a lot of time, okay? But we were just bitching about how WrestleMania now is 8.5 hours long.
Because no, hold on now. Here's where I'll defend that though. You're not giving me 8.5 hours of quality wrestling. You're giving me 3.5 hours of quality wrestling and then 5 hours of Michael Cole and Corey Graves talking about something that doesn't make any sense.
If you look up and down the card, honestly, why did we need to see Texas Tornado versus Dino Bravo? Why did we need to see Earthquake versus Greg Valentine?
Well, we haven't talked about it yet.
Well, I'm just saying, why did we need to see fucking Mountie versus
Scott Bakula with your Quantum Leap or whatever? Go ahead.
I think
slow down, motherfucker.
I think the problem that goes on with WrestleMania every year, because this is where I'll disagree with you, Nate. You said that the first 7 WrestleManias, the matches were rushed and no one got time. That even happens in modern day WrestleManias. Like you go back to, I think it was WrestleMania 27 or 28, Rey Mysterio versus CM Punk.
That was, that was 27, yes.
Yeah, they got 11 minutes with their entrances. I mean, that's a match that should have gotten 25 minutes.
Right.
You know, they cram so much in the card, and then now now we got to rush to get this because Puff Daddy wants to come out and sing a song, and we got to rush to get this because we need Stephanie to do an in-ring promo that could be saved for Raw. You know, it's they want to do too much.
Or we have to play a commercial for the WWE Network where people are
that
already
we're watching.
Yes.
You know, I mean, 14 matches on a card.
Hold on, guys. Hold on, Archie. I'm sorry. Hey, guys, those of you out there listening, don't forget to listen to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. There's my...
Moving to the WWE Network next month.
Yeah, hopefully. They may need content. Fuck, I'm gonna hit them up.
Yeah.
So our next thing here, Gene Okerlund with the celebrities. We got Alex Trebek, Regis Philbin, and Marla Maples. Gene
this is great.
Yes, it was. Gene was always good at schmoozing with the celebs.
I love it when he looks at Regis. He's like, Regis, you're beautiful.
You're beautiful. My long time close personal friend, Mr. Regis Philbin. Any other thoughts on that there, Aaron? I know you have some thoughts here.
This was stupid.
It was nice to see the celebrities just
These weren't celebrities. Other than Regis.
I'd rather have my celebrities backstage than in the ring competing.
I have a question here. Anybody in the next match not firmly convinced that Kerry Von Erich was completely fucked up?
Oh, God.
Dino Bravo put himself in holes in this match.
Yes, it's sad. It's actually sad to watch.
It's one of those things that, like, knowing what's to come, and you can say that a lot throughout the show. I mean, even with both of them. I mean, even like later on, like with Elizabeth and stuff, it's tough, man, watching because it's like you know what's going to come. Like you know,
Tornado's going to shoot himself, and Dino's going to get shoot by Canadian gangsters.
Those are a real thing.
Pay your money, eh? You bet you sure we'll knock you. We'll do it.
Where's my money, Hoser? Where's my money?
Yeah, where's my money, Hoser? You bet you sure I'm going to put a cap in you, eh?
That'll fucking teach you. That'll fucking learn you not to be fucking around with cigarettes. All right.
Don't mess with the Toronto Titans, eh? I don't know. It just sounded like a Canadian gangster name.
They would, too. They would. You got the Bloods, you got the Crips, and you got the Titans.
Don't mess with those Quebec Quaaludes, eh? Tell you that right now.
I'll fuck you up, that says.
It was the only Quaalude was the only word that rolled off the tongue just then. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Maple should have paid us back.
Oh, God.
So overall, this match was nothing to write home about. Anybody have any other thoughts on Tornado and Dino Bravo here?
Nope.
I like both the guys as wrestlers, but it was not a great match. And what I will say about it is I think Dino Bravo, who I'm a big fan of, I was a big fan of, I think should get a lot of credit for going out there and doing what he did in this match.
Yep, total pro. And so side note, I didn't write this down, but I don't know why, it just made me think of it. Tornado seemed to be fucked up during the whole match, obviously. And Dino had obviously taken a stiff shot to the nose at some point that week because he had a broken nose.
Probably fucking working with Kerry Von Erich.
True.
These Mania matches don't just get put on the show. They work the fucking loop.
Mm-hmm.
And they got to work and perfect these matches going into WrestleMania. So Dino Bravo probably had to work with this fucking hose head the whole fucking night or the whole fucking week. And he probably got punched in the fucking nose at least twice by this fucking goddamn pilled out monkey.
Jesus. Gosh. Dang.
No. Oh, people have fucking goddamn glory eyes on fucking Kerry Von Erich because he was this big fucking star. When he fucking died, he was a pilled out, fucking stoned, goddamn idiot. Sorry.
True.
And he shot himself in his fucking heart. Fuck that guy.
So, moving on from that sad story, up next we have the Dr. Slick and the Warlord, who anybody that knows, listens to the show, has heard a number of times. Nate, I believe I am the world's biggest Warlord mark.
You're not. You're not.
Me and Batista.
Yeah, Batista, trivia note. Batista has said multiple times that Warlord is his favorite wrestler.
And I'm okay with that. Warlord wasn't necessarily a ring technician or a ring general or anything, but I always thought the
your
guy,
favorite wrestler?
He was menacing. What?
Is your favorite wrestler, Nate?
No.
Well, he's Batista's favorite wrestler.
So Batista likes him more than I do. But I always thought he had a good presence. He was menacing. He played the role that he was to play to perfection. And when I was a kid, I dug the Warlord. I thought the Warlord was cool as shit. He had a cool look.
Yeah.
The thing you watch when you watch him, he doesn't need to be an in-ring technician.
Right. That's not his gig.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be a Bret Hart or or Dean Malenko or anything. He's fucking what Braun Strowman was.
Right.
I just know these goddamn promos between fucking Slick and Warlord and the British Bulldog had too many goddamn
puns.
Dog cliches in them.
I have written on my
Christ.
I have written on my notes, Warlord and Bulldog interviews, too many stupid puns.
Too many goddamn dog cliches.
And that thing of dog, that poor fucking dog. He did not seem to want to be there. You hear the stories of what they did to some of those animals. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, what Mel Phillips did to that poor dog.
Winston's like, I looked down and he was sucking me paws.
And when I say paws, I mean balls.
Oh, shit.
Slick looked like a pimp in his pink suit.
He did.
Say that.
Yes.
This match was completely predictable. You knew it was going to happen.
But the crowd, again, this crowd was still hot for it.
Oh, this crowd was hot for everything. But it was a predictable match. And they just kind of did some big man moves, and then it was over. It wasn't offensive, but it was what it was.
Yes, and this feud, I remember even as a kid thinking, man, this feud is, I mean, they drug this feud out for like, from like the Rumble till like Survivor Series time. Like, this feud lasted all fucking year. It's like, you don't have anybody else to feud these guys with? Damn.
And see, I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. It wasn't even a good year-long feud.
No, it should have ended at Mania. That should have been the end of it.
Yeah.
Chris, any thoughts on this before we move along?
Really, the only thing I wrote down was like the pre-match promos. You could just tell that, especially here Davey was never comfortable having to do promos, and it showed really, really bad on this one.
Yeah, well, he got a little more comfortable once he was a heel with Cornette, because I think more because Cornette and him could play off of each other, and he got to show his what do I want to say, he got to show his personality more as a heel, I guess. But yeah, I agree with you. And this time, all of his promos were always very awkward, and at this time, he was also very, very blown up. he was very poofy. He was very poofy at this time.
Well, that and the promo also reminded me of like your favorite Bulldog-related soundbite of whether he wants to or not.
Yeah, he's gonna win whether he wants to or not.
And then he was like, "I guess not. Go."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, "Oh, you literally just pretty much did that kid soundbite, but for yourself."
And the only reason Chris remembers the verbiage is because he just watched it 5 minutes ago.
Spoiler alert. Kayfabe. We just broke kayfabe here. So, the next matchup, we've got the Nasty Boys and the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You jumped the gun. Mean Gene Okerlund interviewed the Nasty Boys.
Yes.
And he's with Jimmy Hart. And I've watched several interviews with the Nasty Boys managed by Jimmy Hart. And in every fucking interview, he goes, "Because I'm Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South, and I'm with the Nasty Boys."
Nasty Boys.
Why does he do that?
Well, it was the 90s. You had Public Enemy. You had, what's his name? Flavor Flav. Yeah, boy!
But every time he was like, "I'm with the Nasty Boys."
The thing that I noticed in this interview that I probably didn't notice back in
He didn't go, I'm with the Mega Maniacs. Or the Mount T.
The thing I probably didn't notice this when I was a kid, and maybe the intention wasn't there. But Brian Knobbs does call the Hart Foundation and Stinkin' Pink. I was like, wow, that means something totally different to me at 41 than it did at 12. Did he mean it like that? The stink and the
sure
pink?
he did. I'm sure he did. And if you notice something with Jimmy Hart, like if you look back at his clique, like every time he managed somebody or somebodies, you know what they were? They were in constant motion, man.
Yes.
Jimmy Hart's people had to be in constant motion the entire time.
It was very hyper.
Like Jimmy Hart managed the most insane motherfuckers in professional wrestling.
Yeah, Jimmy.
Like his group was on fucking cocaine the entire fucking time.
Yeah, boy.
It didn't matter who you were. If you joined the goddamn First Family, you best be on the cocaine.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Jimmy Hart.
Be moving the entire fucking time.
You join Jimmy Hart's family. The first thing that happens, you get in the locker room. He throws you a bag of white powder and goes, "Look, baby."
You think you took some bumps before?
You see these jackets, baby? I got a megaphone, baby. This is how we roll.
You're gonna take bigger bumps than you've ever taken in your entire life.
Oh man. Oh, Jimmy Hart.
And I do have
Jimmy.
I do have a question. Am I the only person on this call that thinks in like the 90s, like in this era, like 89 to like probably 93, that the Nasty Boys weren't fucking half bad?
No, they were good. They had good matches.
I actually have that written down.
They had good matches against the Steiners. They had good matches against the Hart Foundation, the Legion of Doom. Like their Steiners match, or their Steiners feud, is one of my favorite WCW tag team feuds ever. Personally, I love the match at that Halloween Havoc.
I think
this match is awesome.
They're the perfect example of of a great team that if they are working with somebody that is, really good as a tag team, they can work their style and around them. Yeah, they're absolutely great.
But you put them in the ring with the Mod Squad. Yeah, you put them in there with the Mod Squad. It might be kind of ugly, but you're right. I mean, and to Aaron's credit, I mean they had some this era of their career anyway was really good. It's really just, I mean, at some point in their career, especially Brian Knobbs, they got kind of like fat and complacent, I guess is the best way I can put it.
Yeah, I'd say that's kind of what I wrote down too. I wrote down that I personally feel they're often overlooked because they were tough as shit. They knew how to bring the heat and get whoever they were facing over. But I think that Knobbs' friendship ultimately kind of overshadowed their in-ring work.
Yeah. And because of that, like I said, because he had that in with Hogan, he got lazy.
Yeah, and so you're saying about the Nasty Boys. The one thing I'll put about, like, the caveat or whatever I'll put on this is, one thing is during this match, they show Macaulay Culkin, and Bobby Heenan says, that little brat tried to upstage me the other day, so I had him thrown off the set. And that made me happy.
Oh, Bobby Heenan.
Because they show him in the crowd as the hearts are coming out, and Gorilla's like, that youngster's very happy, and then Bobby's like, that little guy tried. He didn't call him a little guy, but he just seems like he tried to upstage me, so I had him thrown off the set. And Gorilla's like, come on, Bobby,
and
whatever. But that was fun.
Just to show you the fun of Gorilla Monsoon, folks. In Gorilla Monsoon's mind, Macaulay Culkin and Carlos Colon are youngsters.
Yes. But I will say this: we were talking about this match, which the Nasty Boys won because they hit Jim Neidhart with the helmet and pinned him.
Great match, super heat.
Oh, it's a fantastic match, and they're probably number 2 on my favorite tag team of all time list. But I don't think there's a better tag team that complements each other better than the Hart Foundation. And when I say that, it's because they work completely different fucking styles, but they mesh it together better than anybody else could.
Yes. I agree. Wholeheartedly.
Like my favorite tag team of all time is the Steiner brothers. But other than Scotty doing like the Frankensteiner, they basically do the same shit. They basically do their big suplexes and their high impact moves or whatever. But there was no tag team that was completely different but meshed as great as Jim Neidhart and Bret Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Bret could do what he could do. Jim could do what he could do, and then they would just mold it. I won't rant anymore. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's really interesting to watch this, knowing that by next year's WrestleMania, that Bret and Shawn are going to be on their track to stardom.
Mm-hmm. A lot changes, between this Mania and the next Mania.
It's nuts. It's crazy.
And then by the time you get to 9, it's just just a completely different business. Almost, it starts to become a completely different. At least for the WWF.
Well, I was going to write that down. That there's a lot of guys on this show, but this is their last WrestleMania.
Yes.
A ton of guys on here.
So far, we've got. Let's see. It is Hacksaw's last WrestleMania. It is Jannetty's last WrestleMania. It's Barbarians, Haku, Dino, Tornado, Warlord, and yeah. So,
Hart?
What's that?
Neidhart.
Yep. Yeah.
Wow.
Snuka.
Well, we haven't got there yet, but no, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, I mean to jump ahead.
No, that's
but
okay.
There's a lot of guys.
So, right now, guys, what we're going to do is we're almost at our hour mark. I always like to take a break at the hour mark for our listeners. So we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we will continue. This is our intermission. WWF used to do those intermissions during the pay-per-views. We'll do an intermission here. When we return, coming up, we'll still have to discuss a main event. We have the blindfold match. We have the career match. Covering Wrestlemania VII here on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We'll be right back after this.
Well, you can't wrestle. So what did you do? You went out there and you started a podcast. You got that right. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And I am Brian Pillman Jr. The We Can't Wrestle podcast is a podcast about wrestling and a bunch of guys that don't know how to do it. But I, Brian Pillman Jr., I'm very good at pro wrestling, so I don't need to start a podcast called the We Can't Wrestle podcast, but I'll gladly put my name on the brand. I'll gladly go on the line to say that the We Can't Wrestle podcast is one of the most informative, most balanced, non-biased podcasts out there. Thank you very much, and have a good listen.
All right, wrestling fans, welcome back to the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Of course, we're done with our break, so this is my time for shameful plugs. But first, I have to say, for those of you that are saying, where the fuck did Archie go? Archie's granddaughter, Winter, started throwing a bit of a fit while we were recording, so he had to go tend to family business. And he apologized to myself and the listeners and the fellow co-hosts, and I said, no need to apologize. Winter is now a part of the We Can't Wrestle family, and as the youngest, she is the boss. So go take care of that.
Winter did not approve of WrestleMania 7.
Winter did not approve of WrestleMania 7.
That's what they say. Babies be tripping.
And that being said, thank you, Archie, for being on the show as long as you could be, my friend. We appreciate it. And don't forget, listeners that are not members of our Facebook group, please do join the group. Going to have a contest coming up in the next week or so for members of the group to get their friends to join. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page. Lots of things going on there. We're gonna be moving some live things over to the YouTube page, etc., in the year 2020. And also, one more thing. Don't forget, of course, about We Can't Wrestle Live, where you can see Kyle every single week. Aren't you lucky? We Can't Wrestle Live, where we talk about the modern product of professional wrestling on the weekend. On the Facebook group and the YouTube page.
And when I'm able to, I am trying to get over watch-alongs.
Yes. And that was the next thing I was going to say. Go ahead. You pitch your own
Was
shit.
it really the next thing you were going to say?
Yes, it actually was.
He's like, pitch your own shit.
Go ahead and pitch it, brother.
All right. Aaron has been doing watch-alongs starting this week on the We Can't Wrestle Facebook group. He is picking,
and only 2 of you fuckers have been contributing. Come on, guys.
He has been watching, I think he watched a WCW Saturday Night, which I watched with him, a WWF Superstars, a Nitro. He watched was it a Steamboat Austin match?
No, it was Sting and Steamboat. Not Sting and Steamboat. Sorry, Sting and Steve Austin.
Where you can just join Aaron on the Facebook group. It's no cost, no nothing. Just have some fun, watch some old wrestling.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch this shit by myself. I could do this on my TV, man. Join in, have some fun. Let's make fun of some shit. Let's have a good time, guys.
And again, if you haven't, join the Facebook group. There, we even give free stuff away on the Facebook group. So there you go. There's my pitches. That's what we're done with that crap for the week.
Here's my pitches, bitches.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Bitches get pitches. I just called all of our listeners bitches. I didn't mean that.
Bitches get pitches.
Mark for edit. Okay. All right, here we go. We're talking WrestleMania VII this week on the show, and
hey, do you know what a wrestler that would be out of the We Can't Wrestle podcast would be?
A wrestler out what?
Like a wrestler that would be born out of us.
Who?
It would be Mark for edits.
Oh,
First name Mark, last name for edits.
For edits. Well, okay, so now you made me... I have to say one more thing in the pitch department, and this really isn't a pitch department. Aaron will agree with me on this. I want to say, for those of you that are part of the Facebook group, you know that pretty much every week I share the latest episode of a podcast called the Breaking Kayfabe podcast, which is one of my favorite podcasts in the world, hosted by two guys I really like, Barry Rose and Jeff Bowdrin. And Jeff Bowdrin, one of the hosts of the show this week, was unfortunately diagnosed with lymphoma. So if any of you out there listen to the show, if you don't listen to the show, you absolutely should. Aaron will attest to that. And
Yes.
for those of you that listen to the show, and for those of you that don't, if anybody can send some positive, good vibes the way of Mr. Jeff Bowdrin, we'd really appreciate that, as he is fighting lymphoma, and it sounds like they caught it a little late. It might be kind of bad, so we're in there for you, Jeff. Hang in there, buddy.
yep, you got it, man.
Kick cancer's ass. All right, so now
Look out, brother.
we'll get into the more of the wrestling here, the WrestleMania. The next thing here at WrestleMania 7 is a video summing up the feud between Jake the Snake Roberts and the model Rick Martel. Now, can any of us as kids not say that was not at that time one of our favorite feuds?
Absolutely.
I could not say that, Kyle. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
I'll say this. Watching the show, the first clip they showed, okay, was October 6th, 1990.
Mm-hmm.
All right? That was when Jake was on the Brother Love show and Martel was out there and he sprayed him and it got in his eyes. Okay?
Right.
That happened on October 6th, 1990. The show happened on March 24th, 1991. Does anybody get where I'm going with this?
It's a hell of a bill.
Yeah. October 1990 to March 1991. They built this shit for like 6 fucking months. You can barely get 6 weeks or 6 days out of a fucking wrestling show now.
The thing, like, it immediately took me back to, watching it, the whole thing happen and everything else. You feel bad for Jake. You're like, oh my god, who doesn't remember seeing the when he had the contacts in to make it look like he was blind?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that shit scares the fuck out of you. You're like, oh my god, like, Jake, you're gonna be okay. Then match happens, and as the referee is showing each competitor the hood, the referee sticks his fucking hand in it, and you can see his hand through the mesh.
Now, but see, little dude me didn't notice that.
Don't let little shit get in the way of a good story, motherfucker.
No, this is true, but here's the thing: I'm not mad at the referee for doing that. I understand.
Now you're making me feel like Vince or Pat, motherfucker.
But Why the fuck did they shoot it? Why did they cut away? They fucking left it. Like, god damn it.
Don't let logic get in the way of a good story, motherfucker.
I'm not, but it's hard to it just breaks your immersion when you see shit like that. You're like, oh.
For all the terrible things which he deserves that Aaron and I say about Jake Roberts on this podcast, I hold steadfast that even though he's a piece of shit human being, as a professional wrestler, he was a great performer. And him and Rick Martel, two great performers, and they did every single thing right in this match. Because this could have been a nightmare. This could have been a train wreck.
It could have been, and
it probably should have been.
And what I'll say is, I don't mind the fact that it was a blindfold match, but part of me wishes it wasn't. Part of me just wishes it would have been Jake getting his hands in a regular match on Rick Martel, because it was two of the greatest fucking workers of their era. So imagine, like, this blindfold match was fantastic for a blindfold match, right?
Yes.
Imagine what they could have done if it would have just been a no disqualification, these guys are going to beat the shit out of each other match.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to have to go back and look. I'll have to go back and research because I don't remember. I'll go back and look. Did they ever have any non-blindfold, like Saturday Night's main event matches or anything? Because I know they had the Survivor Series teams and etc. But
it was the Visionaries and the Snakes.
Mm-hmm.
But no, they didn't have any that I know of. I don't want to be like, oh, Aaron spoke like a dick and didn't know what he was talking about. They might have had like a match on Superstars or something, but they never had like a main event match that wasn't this. And it's a shame, because it would be fantastic. Like, just Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick the Model Martel in a match. It'd be fucking fantastic.
Christopher, your thoughts on this?
Me personally,
You just watched it 2 minutes ago.
I personally feel that it was one of the most iconic displays of fan manipulation power and storytelling.
Yes.
Like, it's one of the storylines and matches, like you said, that you just always remember.
They had especially Jake as the babyface. He just had the crowd in the palm of his hands. I think more than, and I don't know how much everybody has watched of Mid-South here in the show, but I think that Jake did better with the blinding angle than JYD did in Mid-South. I mean, to me, personally. I know there's probably people out there listening that would disagree, or there's probably people out there listening that don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, but yeah, I think you're right, Chris. I think that Jake, I mean, he literally just held that crowd in the palm of his hand.
I also wonder when the hoods went on if Adnan just started swinging the sword.
No, because it wasn't.
Settle down, buddy. Settle down. We're not taping this with a beta. Just settle down, buddy.
Jesus. Fast forward to 2005, poor Muhammad Hassan. All right. So we covered Jake and the model there. Now, the next match, we start...
Nope. Before that, Marla Maples is back there with the Nasty Boys.
Oh, I forgot to write that
Boys.
down. I forgot to write that down. Yes, she was.
And then Earthquake and Dino Bravo show up, and then the camera cuts off right before the gangbang.
Jesus.
Marla Maples, you can tell. Marla Maples did not want to fucking be there. She was like, oh.
Back to the stink and the pink.
Her eyes were as big as saucers. She's like, my husband is sitting in the front row, and he cannot protect me. And he was like, the gangbang is going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
So nobody caught my line there, or it just wasn't funny?
I don't think I caught your line.
Oh. Aaron said gangbang, and the Nasty Boys were there, so I said, so now we're back to the stink and the pink.
Oh,
All right. So
oh no.
now we move on to the beginning of the streak. The Undertaker and Jimmy Snuka. This is where the streak began. This is where The Undertaker became the Phenom, and Jimmy Snuka stopped being the Phenom, because at this point they're referring to Jimmy Snuka as the Phenom of the WWF. What do we think? I mean, there's not a lot to say about the match. It was kind of a basic match, you know. I mean,
I just thought it was weird seeing Undertaker, no pomp and circumstance.
yeah.
Just I'm gonna walk to the ring. I don't need 432 druids and 87 torches and a fog machine and 13 minutes of a thunderstorm. And yep, look, I'm already in the ring. The match is over, and I'm already on my way back to the back.
Yeah, pretty much. I thought that Snuka was a real pro putting him over here, though. I mean,
Yep.
Say what you want about Jimmy. Again, much like Roberts, piece of shit human being. But you know, in the long run of the thing, we're talking about the performance. We're talking about the show, and I thought Jimmy did a good job of being the vet, putting over the young guy that's on his way up.
And here's something that I missed in pro wrestling today. Once Undertaker beat Snuka, it's just a little, and it probably was like a throwaway line at the time, but like now especially. But when Bobby Heenan's like, "That was Jake. He just beat Jimmy Snuka. Like that's Jimmy Snuka. That's impressive."
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's where I miss. It's like where it makes it feel even more special when like the announcer's like, "Holy shit, I can't believe,"
Yeah, doing their job.
Yeah, I made a note of that, but I also kind of wrote down, given their overall response to the end of it, you could tell at that moment with that tombstone, no one had an inkling of what had just started.
Mm-hmm.
No.
They were just like, cool, damn, the new guy, out of nowhere, beat a legend. You could just tell that they were like, okay, if they only knew.
And what the hell?
Did someone just yell for Corona? What?
Corona!
Boogie that, boogie that. Boogie that, boogie that.
The streak, I see.
Oh, yes, they call him the streak. That's thing on 2 feet. He's just as proud as he can be of his anatomy. He gon' give us a peek. Oh, yes, they call him the streak.
And for the record, that song is not only dedicated to the Undertaker streak, but one of our more loyal listeners of the show is Mr. Ray Stevens. So, not
Let's show off his physique. If there's an audience to be found, to be street.
All right.
They botched the fuck out of the end of that match, by the way.
Kind of, sort of.
No, not kind of, sort of. They fucked Jimmy Snuka fucked that match up at the end. Actually, it's not even Jimmy Snuka that fucks it up. Mark Calloway fucks it up because Jimmy is supposed to do the jump off the rope, and Taker doesn't catch him right, and then he has to put him down and then pick him up again and then give him the fucking tombstone.
And it was a little wonky there at the end, but overall the match did its job.
Don't let the truth get in the way of a good story.
Yeah. You know what else is funny on this thing?
What's that?
Bobby is talking about who's in the urn, and it's somebody close to them. And Gorilla goes, "What are you talking about, Brain?" And then Bobby goes, "Don't concern yourself with family matters." And the minute he said that, in my mind, I went, "Did I do that?"
Oh, shoot.
So now we move on from that match to a match we've talked about a number of times on the show. We'll talk about it a little bit again. One of the better WrestleMania matches, especially of this era of WrestleManias. Up for debate. I say this is the Ultimate Warrior's best match.
Yeah, and it showed in the beginning of it. It showed the building up to the match. It showed one of the coolest segments in wrestling history.
Warrior and Sherry?
Yeah. Where she's begging Warrior to give Randy a shot, and then he's like, no, and Randy freaks out.
And then during the there's little things in 90s.
Oh, there's a big thing in that deal where she hit the knees, and every dude in the crowd's like, she's about to give him a blowjob for a title match.
Speak to me, Warriors.
He's like, oh. Yeah, everybody thought, holy shit, Sensational Sherry's about to suck that dick for a championship shot.
It was a great build to the match. And, again, I mean, I don't know if you guys all agree. I do think that, and I think that there were a few guys in his career that could pull a good match out of the Warrior. But I think Savage pulled Warrior's best match out of him.
Yeah.
And I mean, the story and the drama definitely added to it.
And BTW, that happened on November 23rd of the previous year. So that's showing another fucking angle that built for for so many fucking months. You can do this shit if you tell a great fucking story.
Well, you also got to remember, now we have the equivalent of damn near 10 plus hours a week of wrestling. So they're like,
that's their own fucking fault. Just stop doing it.
No, trust me, I agree, but that's their excuse now why they can't drag and
they
have
don't
good
have that
stories.
excuse now. People are dying. Just cancel shows. Nobody will care. What I'm saying is, they still had shows. They still had Superstars. They had Wrestling Challenge. They had Prime Time. There were still shows, but they were well written.
And this is another reason that you can make the case, and I know I'm getting off topic, but whatever. This is another reason you can make the case that as much as at the time we all loved it, the Monday Night Wars fucked professional wrestling. Because once you started making every match a competitive match between two big superstars, once you started giving away pay-per-view quality main events every week as your main event on wrestling, you can't go backwards. So they turned up the volume, and there's no way to turn it back down. So again, like I said, as much as we all have this nostalgic feeling, or at the time we loved the Monday Night War era because it was like nothing we'd ever seen before, it got us to where we are today. It pretty much let the cat out of the bag. And you can't put the cat back in the bag because you're going to get all scratched the fuck up. And you know what I mean? I mean, it's just as a stupid euphemism, but it's today's wrestling and where it's at is the result of what we all really enjoyed back then, but maybe, just maybe, we should have been like, whoa. Does that make sense? Does anybody agree with me, disagree with me?
Yeah, but I'm gonna bring up a random thing. Mm-hmm. It's just random. And then we can go back to whatever you guys want to talk about. Okay?
Okay.
I think jobber matches can still exist.
I don't think you can do it.
I do. I think they can still exist. As long as the company that's promoting them gets behind it. You know why?
No.
Do you know why? Because... Do you remember a guy named Ryback? Do you remember him?
Vaguely.
Ryback
Ryberg. Yeah, I remember him.
was going out week after week after week for a while. One week he would beat up a jobber. And then he would beat up another jobber. And then he beat up 2 jobbers. And people got into it.
And they did the same thing with Braun Strowman.
And people get into it. And then they put him out there, and then they just have him lose to somebody. And it fucking sucks.
I understand what you're saying.
They've just recently done it with the Viking Raiders, too, so...
And I understand what you're saying, but my counter to that is, because of the Monday Night War era, and because of the way that made wrestling become presented, you do that with one guy with a modern wrestling audience, and for about 6 weeks it works, and then they lose interest. You couldn't do it like you do it like we watched when we were kids. You could not do that anymore. Not in today's entertainment environment, not in today's streaming environment where people have so many options for entertainment. The attention span isn't there, and you could never get it back. And
I hope it doesn't come back then.
Wrestling fans have been conditioned, and especially, I mean, I'm talking about, like, you know, kids my son's age now. They don't know anything about squash matches. My son thinks when I watch an old WWF Superstars or an old WCW Saturday Night, that shit is fucking boring to him. You could never, ever bring it back. And I'm not saying that we wouldn't enjoy it. I'm just presenting the facts in that you can never put the fucking genie back in the bottle.
Well, then I hope on April 5th, Brock Lesnar flips fucking Drew McIntyre into space, and then it's just fucking done then. And all we got's what's left on the fucking network. And then on April 5th, 2020, fucking wrestling ended, and it never existed again.
No, then we can't do we can do a podcast.
We can do a podcast.
We cover classic shit on here.
Fucking years of good stuff to talk about.
All right, so Savage Warrior, quickly. What?
It's fun. It was great. I was not too keen on the very end of the match. The fact that fucking Warrior is like looking up to the heavens, being like, oh, my hands are telling me not to do it. The gods are telling me not to do it. And then he was like, oh, never mind, I'm going to do it. And then he just put the fucking foot on Savage. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I made a note of that too. Looking back on it, I'm not digging the arrogant foot on chest pin.
I gave this match 5 stars.
And I'm sure Warrior, insisted on that. Maybe Savage insisted on it. I don't know. Because from what I understand, and again, I don't know these two gentlemen. I don't know Vince McMahon. But from what I understand, the decisive kind of way that Warrior won was actually what Randy wanted. Because at this time, Randy was kind of planning on not wrestling anymore. And, he's master psychologist, and he wanted his heel character to go out that way. So, I mean, if it was a decision between the two of them, I understand what you guys are saying about the lackadaisical finish or what have you, but if it was a decision between the two of them and that's the way Randy wanted to go out, then that is what it is.
But I wrote down that I gave this match 5 stars. Because of the story, the in-ring of it, like the story that built to it, the in-ring of it, and the post-match of it. This is one of the greatest wrestling stories ever fucking told.
And if you think about it, even though Warrior wasn't involved at the time, the story started in 1984.
Yeah. Like, this was a multi-year build to this guy treating this woman like a piece of shit. Okay? and not understanding how important she was. And then at the end of his fucking career, I have given this woman so much shit. I have treated her this way and that way and this way and that way. But at the end of it, she understood what I was and what I am. And now my side bitch is kicking my ribs and treating me like shit. But she's like, motherfucker, we ain't doing this shit, bitch. And throws her down on the mat, and they end up fucking embracing and hugging. And some dude in a fucking raincoat is super sad out in the crowd, and we're super happy. And Randy Savage opening the fucking ropes for Elizabeth is fucking fantastic. It's like the only time in professional wrestling that you could look at it and be like, this is a love story and it fucking matters. I just rambled stupidly, sorry.
No, because I agree, because some of the stuff I wrote down, that this is the forever memory of WrestleMania. And like even now watching it 29 years later, it still has that emotional investment.
Mm-hmm.
Storytelling.
It's fucking Beauty and the Beast, man. You know what I mean? It's like it's just an ultimate story, and it's Randy Savage for years being a piece of shit, and then his career ending and realizing, you know what? I've been a piece of shit for all this fucking time. And I realize it now because I got the love of a good woman. So now I'm going to go home and not be a dick anymore.
So after that, we have a series of interviews that are just goofy.
And I don't know about you guys, but like I assume this is where the intermission and everything happens and stuff. And the one thing I can think and say is that we need this in wrestling now. Whether it's a 15, 20-minute intermission, this was great because it gives the fans a chance to digest what they just saw.
And
when they're back, they're ready for, the next stage. Like they're not burnt out.
Right.
Not just boom, 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 boom.
You need to go take a leak. You need to go get some popcorn. What the fuck ever. This is your opportunity. Absolutely. And the only thing I have here, though, is, there were some interviews in here. The interview with Regis Philbin and Tenryu and Katao could probably not happen today. Me, Regis Philbin. You.
No, absolutely not. And even look, let me emphasize this, that I am not a racist. I'm a racist bone in my body. Okay, so I'm saying this as
let me say this. I left the room to pee real quick, and I came back, and I heard somebody go, let me emphasize this by saying I'm not a racist. So I want to hear what's going to be said.
Oh, we were just talking about the fact that you could not do the Regis Philbin, I Regis, you at WrestleMania with Tenryu and Katao interview today.
Oh yeah, because in that interview, fucking Mr. Fuji says he's gonna take out his Jap manager.
That's what I was getting ready to say. That's what I said. Like, so please don't. I'm not referring to the Japanese people as that. This is strictly what Mr. Fuji said. But yeah, it's, even though it's Mr. Fuji, still, it's like, to say Jap.
And he wasn't even Japanese, he was Hawaiian, so.
But you know what I'm saying, though. Like, he is looked at as.
Right.
But it's like,
Tough stuff, man.
Yeah, it doesn't age well.
No. All right, so we got through those interviews, and now we have the match of the the quickly declining Demolition. I wrote here, from WrestleMania 6 to WrestleMania 7, Demolition became great value. Demolition. And there's no offense to the performers. It's just, but once Vince got his hands on the LOD, and it's crazy, too, because I am always a person who contends that I don't think Demolition was a copy of the Legion of Doom, because Demolition was its own thing, and I actually like Demolition better. But it was almost like once Vince got his hand on the Road Warriors, he forgot about his Demolition. And they had the shit go down with Bill Eadie.
Yes, and Bobby Heenan says some funny shit.
Oh, God, yes.
And Nate, I'm going to say this. Demolition faced who?
Tenryu and Katao.
And Bobby Heenan said, because Gorilla Monsoon said, this is Demolition versus
Tenryu and Katao.
And then Bobby Heenan said, what was his name? Hand towel? No fucking lie. I spit my goddamn pop out. Gorilla Monsoon said, here comes Tenryu and Katao. And Bobby Heenan said, what's his name? Hand towel?
And I love
Jesus fucking Christ. That is the funniest thing I've ever heard Bobby Heenan say in my entire life. And then Gorilla said, no, Brain, his name is Katao. And then Katao got in the ring, and then you know what Bobby Heenan said? He said, ooh, that's one big fortune cookie.
Well, and Monsoon says something along the lines.
Goddamn hand towel joke was so fucking funny. His name's Katao. What's his name? A hand towel? Jesus Christ.
So then, like I said, they follow it up because I can't remember the actual verbiage, but somehow Monsoon says, like, oh, his name could be Fred. He's like, his name's Fred Katao? Stupid name.
No, he said he kept saying hand towel. Bobby kept mispronouncing the name.
That's right.
And he kept saying, oh, hand towel. And Gorilla was like, you're mispronouncing it. And Bobby was like, I can't pronounce his name. And Gorilla was like, his name could be Fred, and you'd mispronounce it. And Bobby was like, his name's Fred Hand Towel?
That's a stupid name for him.
That's a stupid name for a wrestler.
Oh.
It's fucking fantastic. Tenryu and Katao are like representing SWS at WrestleMania. And Vince has built this fucking working relationship with SWS in Japan. And Bobby's calling it hand towel and a big fortune cookie. It's fucking fantastic.
It's great. Okay, now hold on. Don't say anything, anybody. Because this is, after the Demolition Tenryu Katao match, we're going to go into the Big Boss Man, Mr. Perfect match for the Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
And the Boss Man does an interview. And this is one of my favorite Bobby Heenan interviews. Because there's a couple of great lines in this one. Him and Perfect are talking about the Boss Man. And this is around the time of the Rodney King incident in Los Angeles. Bobby Heenan, first of all, says, so you heard about this thing going on here in L.A. One of my favorite descriptions of a person ever is his description of the guy that filmed the Rodney King incident, because he says, so there was some ham and egger in the bushes. Fucking slays me every time. I've watched WrestleMania 7 like 58 times in my life, and when he says some ham and egger in the bushes, the way he says it is just classic. And then he says, don't worry, Don't worry. You don't need the camera. We'll facilitate the camera. We'll facilitate the incident. You just sit there on your rented sofa with the spring popping out. I love this fucking promo, man. This is one of my favorite Bobby Heenan promos. It's funny because Aaron said this earlier on. He said that's his favorite. This is a great promo. He's so good here. But anyway,
Bobby's so on point on this WrestleMania, man.
He is. He's so good.
Bobby Heenan is the kind of guy. It's like every time you watch something of him, you're like, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's my favorite. Yeah, it's like Carlin. It's like, what's my favorite Carlin shit? You know, like, damn.
Whatever I just recently watched is my favorite. Like,
yeah, Ham and Egger in the bushes. God damn it.
He's a big fortune cookie.
Oh, okay.
See, that makes no sense when he goes, oh, he's a big fortune cookie. I mean, it makes sense, but it doesn't. It's so funny. What's his name? Ham Towel? Oh, god damn. Is Chris Wood still here? Chris Wood, are you still here, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
Chris is just listening to us ramble.
And by the way, the Big Boss Man is in the top 5 greatest gimmicks of all time.
Yes, and does anybody else disagree with me that probably from when he turned face in 90 through this time till probably maybe, I don't know, right around Mania 8. So let's go WrestleMania 6 to WrestleMania 8. He was in the best shape he was in. And I'm not even saying it was the best work he did, but during this time he just looked the best he looked, you know.
Oh yeah. He wasn't the best well, he was a good worker then, but he was even a good worker when he was fat as fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When he was Bubba Rogers and when he feuded with Hogan and they went at each other on Saturday Night's Main Event, but at this time he was in the best shape. But I just think the Boss Man character is in the same realm of like this is gonna sound stupid, but the Big Boss Man character should be looked at as the same as like the Undertaker character.
Character, yes.
Yeah, like this guy had a gimmick that should not have been over at all. But he took it. It was silly. It could have been considered stupid, but he made it believable and he made you believe it. And it was fan-fucking-tastic.
And the longevity of it was ridiculous.
Yeah. It was great. And he evolved it through time. Like, he was a heel correctional facility officer, and then he became a good guy police cop guy, and then he came back at like 98, and he was like this shitty riot officer and was like a piece of shit. Ray Traylor took that Boss Man character and did what nobody else could have done with it.
For sure.
I agree.
And I think we talked extensively about this in our Best Big Man in Wrestling History episode.
Sorry.
Go back in the archives and check that out.
I'll just shut the fuck up then.
Boss Man Imperfect, decent match. I remember at this time as a kid being kind of, even though I liked Mr. Perfect, I was kind of pissed Boss Man didn't go over. But
yeah, see, I will say this about this match. I was super into this watching it as a 37-year-old man, because every single person in it I was like super into. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, okay, I'm going to sit back. I'm watching this. I dig the Boss Man.
Yeah.
I really dig Mr. Perfect. Oh, and he's got Bobby with him. That's cool. And then here comes fucking Andre the Giant. I'm like, yes! Here comes Andre the Giant. And then here comes the Barbarian and Haku. I'm like, oh, shit. Like, to me, this right here, this Boss Man, Mr. Perfect match, to me, this was like the fucking main event of the whole fucking show.
And what's nuts is when you watch this and you see, even though Bossman doesn't win the title, he still wins the match or whatever, and the fans still fucking erupt because of it.
Yeah.
They're not booing because they're like, oh. And I love Monsoon giving him shit. Like, oh, you barely scraped by, skin of your teeth on that one. He's like, wow, we still got the title.
And Mr. Perfect, like Kurt Hennig was a dude that could do like ridiculously big bumps and not seem stupid doing it.
Yeah. It's an art that Dolph Ziggler is really good at today.
Yeah. Like Perfect could get like I could watch fucking anybody like get their head hit off a turnbuckle, and then they like do like a 360 and bounce off or whatever. And I'm like, oh, it's stupid. But when I see Kurt Hennig do it, I'm just like, that's fucking fantastic.
Like when Shawn Michaels tried to bury fucking Hulk Hogan in SummerSlam.
Yeah, if that would have been Mr. Perfect doing it, because guess what? That was Mr. Perfect doing it at Royal Rumble 90. I was fine with it. And I don't know why. I shouldn't be. It's the same thing, but seeing that guy do it, it makes sense to me.
Because he was what he said he was. And he was absolutely perfect. All right, so we'll just breeze past this. Earthquake and Greg Valentine happened.
Well, yeah, that happened, but before that, it was weird because it was, and I'm going to say this because Bobby Heenan said something really funny. Donald Trump's out there, okay? Donald Trump, Chuck Norris, Harry Winkler, and Lou Ferrigno are in the same segment. And then Bobby Heenan said something super funny. About Lou Ferrigno. He said, Nate, do you know what he said?
Yes, I do.
He said, Lou Ferrigno sounded like he had 2 or 3 pounds of crackers in his mouth. He said that about a deaf guy.
That's okay. I bet Lou Ferrigno thought it was really funny. So it doesn't.
He didn't hear it. And then Earthquake and Valentine had a match.
Yeah, it was.
Why the fuck?
It was there.
I actually wrote down every WrestleMania tends to have that one match. It's just kind of like, hey, this is that match.
This is that
this
match.
This one had 2 of them.
The next match is the Legion of Doom against Power and Glory, and I know Aaron is a huge Power and Glory mark. And,
yes, I am.
And do you think they were booked properly in this, considering the circumstances? That was my question here. I wrote, does Aaron think that they were misused in this WrestleMania, considering the story, the circumstances, etc., etc.?
No.
Or do you think they were used just right?
They were just used properly. These guys fucked these big-ass sumbitches, and they were used properly in this situation.
I agree with you. I just wanted to see your take on it, and I also agree with you.
The only thing I would have done different, the only thing I would have done different with it was
not had Hawk call them sour and gory.
Nope. The only thing I would have done different with this is I would have put it right at the front of it. I would have opened the show with this.
Okay.
That's the only thing I would have done different. I would have LOD come out right at the front and just fucking beat the shit out of these guys.
And just for the record, because I know Aaron stated it before, and I tend to agree with him that I think, and Chris and Kyle, whatever your thoughts are, you can express too. I do think it's a shame that at some point they didn't at least give Power and Glory at least a transitional run with the titles. Because I think that those two guys, this is the only time that, honestly, God, I am a fan of Paul Roma, and I know Aaron's lambasted me before because he's like, pretty wonderful, but I mean, really, no. I mean, honestly, this is my favorite Paul Roma is when he was with Herc and Slick in Power and Glory.
Paul Roma was the shit. I'm gonna ask this question. Can I ask a question?
You can.
I'm going to ask this question. After the years and years that Hawk and Animal put in, and I'll ask Nate first, and then anybody that wants to answer after it can. Nate, after the years and years that these guys put in, would you consider Animal and Hawk WWF guys or NWA guys? Like, are they WWF guys in the NWA, or are they NWA guys in the WWF?
They're NWA guys in the WWF.
Goddamn right.
And highly overrated, too, by the way.
They're not highly overrated.
Yeah, they are.
Oh,
they're absolutely overrated. They were good. They had a good shtick, and that's fine, but they're fucking overrated. But I don't want to get on that. I don't want to get on this. I don't want this to be a 7-hour show again.
You know what I think the perfect analogy for Road Warriors is?
Go ahead.
They were the Goldberg of tag team wrestling.
I don't know. I don't know that. I mean, I see what you're saying. I absolutely see what you're saying, Kyle. I see the analogy you're making. I don't know. I definitely like the Road Warriors a lot more than I like Goldberg. But I see what you're saying.
No.
It's about, for them, it was about quick squash matches. If it got too long, they weren't that great. And they really weren't. People regard them as one of the great tag teams of all time, and they weren't. They were a great attraction, and they had good matches if they were in the ring with a good tag team, with good wrestlers. If they weren't, it was hot garbage, and they worked better in a quick squash match environment. And that's not knocking them. I'm not knocking them when I say that. But when people tell me they're one of the great tag teams of all time, I'm like, behind, I don't know, fucking Tully and Arn, Heart Foundation, Rockers, Revival. I mean, if you're talking to me about great tag teams, no. If you're talking to me about great attractions, yes. And there is a fucking difference. I don't know. I went off on a tangent, and I'm sorry. But I agree with. I see what you're saying, Kyle. So I agree with you in a respect. But I still have more respect for them than Goldberg, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. And unfortunately, after this WrestleMania, there's not the tag team division takes a real big hit.
It does. For a while, yeah, until the Attitude Era kicks in. Alright, so we had that argument. Aaron's argument was him going,
I just heard somebody say that the fucking Road Warriors were like the singles equivalent of Goldberg. They're not. We'll talk about it later. This fucking $1 million man fucking Virgil match. Jesus Christ. This is the only time ever that a group of people chanted Virgil.
And the only reason they did was because of Piper.
Yeah, and I was about to say that. The only reason, and they tried to give Virgil this push, and you can if you watch the television from when they start to give Virgil the the push until this, halfway through they're like, oh, this isn't working.
Never mind.
Piper. We're going to throw Piper in this because that will at least make Virgil look over.
And people will pay attention.
Yes. But yeah, that's essentially, I think we're all in agreement here that even though Ted DiBiase, one of the greatest of all time, Virgil not. So.
Scary Sherry was like a super skank, though.
Yeah.
Like she was like, oh, Randy Savage ain't dumping his sperm in me no more, so I'm just gonna go with fucking $1 Million Man. It was like in the same night.
Yeah, I put here Sherry Cockhopper.
Yeah. Well, if you think about it, when Savage lost, Monsoon even made the comment that she just lost her meal ticket. So.
Yeah.
Then she ends up jumping to Sean.
Well, she wanted that young dick.
Mm-hmm.
Awkward silence.
She even sang a song for him.
Yes, she did. It was god awful. Which is worse? Hang on, real quick. Which was worse? Was Sean's original song the worst, or was Kurt's version of Sexy Kurt worse?
Sexy Kurt is funny.
Sexy Kurt is golden.
I'm just a sexy Kurt.
Unintended.
Sexy Kurt. I'll make your ankle hurt. Ankle hurt. That's funny shit, man. If you don't like that, you can fuck off. That's funny shit.
Yeah, fuck off with your Goldberg tag team analogies.
Yeah, I know.
And Sexy Boy's funny, man. Like, him walking around that old ass, he's like, I got this cougar with me. That's good shit.
And the fact that he turned around and sang it himself and is still using it and it's over now.
Yeah, and you know what the most amazing thing about, not the most amazing thing about Sherry Martel, but Sherry Martel is no longer with us. You know? But she was a great female wrestler. She was a great wrestling personality. But she still lives on in the fact that she's at the beginning of Booker T's music and she's at the beginning of Shawn Michaels' music.
Yep.
And
as well she should be.
As well she should be. And she made the fucking careers of Booker T and Shawn Michaels. Neither one of those guys would be as far as they are in their careers without Sherry Martel.
She definitely gave Sean's character so much juice, so much heat.
And tell me that fucking Harlem Heat would not be as big as they were without fucking Sherry Martel in their corner.
Absolutely.
Well, Booker's even admitted that.
So if anybody else says anything different, fuck off.
Now
so the next thing we see
is another throwaway match. However,
but no, it's not even a throwaway match. The next thing we see is Sergeant Slaughter burning a Hulk Rules t-shirt. And does anybody know what that was supposed to be?
Yeah, the American flag.
That was Vince McMahon wanting Sergeant Slaughter to burn an American flag. Nobody's gonna care.
Yeah, okay.
It'll be some good heat. And Bob Remus was like, fuck that noise. Vince McMahon has no fucking idea what's going on in reality.
No.
And he never has.
God bless him.
I'm sure Vince would have done it.
Oh, Vince McMahon would have been playing the Sergeant Slaughter character. He would have burned an American flag.
Oh, hell yes, he would have.
Vince McMahon's
You'd have had someone dress as You'd have had someone dress as Uncle Sam and crucified them in the ring. What the fuck are you talking about?
Vince McMahon might be my second favorite person ever.
I think Vince, people say, "Oh, Vince doesn't give a fuck." I think the problem is Vince is one of those people who he essentially created an insulated bubble around himself. So I listen to a lot of other podcasts. I listen to a lot of wrestling journalists like a Meltzer or a Keller or whatever, and I hear these people constantly try to psychoanalyze Vince McMahon. And it's like, you're spending a lot of your life psychoanalyzing another dude. It's kind of creepy. But what I will say is, if I listen to any of the psychoanalysis of Vince McMahon, if you would pick that all apart, that's the biggest thing. This is listening to stories of people that know him, like a Pritchard or a Cornette. He literally lives a life like none of us have ever lived, but he has no concept of what our life is like. He doesn't know. Cornette told a story on his podcast about how back in the 80s, or back in the 90s when Cornette was working for Vince, Enterprise or whatever rent-a-car company WWF had a contract with, Vince had what was called this black card.
Oh yeah, where he just leaves the car wherever?
Yes. Vince McMahon could rent a car anywhere and then leave the car anywhere, and somebody else could come get it. He could leave the car on Halstead Street, and somebody else is going to come get it. Cornette's like, I don't know how many rental cars Vince McMahon just left all over the United States on random curbs. But he doesn't. My perception is the guy just doesn't. He's never lived a normal life like the rest of us at least since he was in college, or in military school or whatever. He's created this environment around himself, and he's never going to understand how the real world works. There are people like that, and he's one of them.
And it's a perfect. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get off into a tangent here either, real quick, but it's like Kevin Smith tells a great story about Prince, and Prince is kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Like Prince lives in Prince's world. Like he'll be like, it's February, it's 3 a.m., and Prince will come up and say, "I want a camel." And you try to tell him like that is not physically or financially possible. And he's like, Prince will just look at you and be like, well, why not? To him, it's a simple request, and it should be easy for someone to do.
Yeah, it's a simple request. I just want a camel.
Yeah, I think the same thing can be said with Vince. To be like, I want you to go out and piss your pants on live TV. It's a simple fucking request. I can do it. I've done it. I don't know why you're having a problem doing it.
All right. So now we move along to the main event of WrestleMania VII. This is going to be fun.
Skip something.
What?
You skipped the Mountie versus Tito Santana.
Now I started to bring it up, and then we got off on a tangent, so I'm moving on to the main event.
So the Mountie gave Tito Santana the shocker.
Yeah, you can't skip that match because that's what WCW watched to figure out what to do to Goldberg.
The stink in the pink? The shocker?
Yeah, he gave him two in the pink, one in the stink, and Tito tapped out.
And like Chris said, it's this was the originator of how we took out the Goldberg streak.
And the Mountie said, the Mount. Never mind. Go ahead.
Okay.
The fucking match was pointless.
One of the fun things about the main event of this show, Hulk Hogan and Sergeant Slaughter, WWF title. Lots of heat on this match, apparently, with death threats and such. And I don't disbelieve that happened. Like Kyle said when we started the show, I don't disbelieve that happened. I disbelieve that that's why they changed the venue. I think Kyle's right. I think they saw that as an out to be able to change the venue. But before we get into the meat of the match, one of the fun things on this is, to me, Hulk Hogan, Regis Philbin and Bobby Heenan on commentary together. How cool is that?
You know what I liked about Regis on commentary?
What's that?
The fact that He was a celebrity on commentary, correct?
Yes.
But what Regis did fantastic as a celebrity on commentary, he knew when to shut the fuck up and let the professionals talk.
Yes, he did.
Does that
I
make
would-
sense?
Right.
Like, he knew, okay, Gorilla and Bobby are professional wrestling commentators. I'm going to let them talk. And then when they feed me a line, I'll take it. And when they don't, I'll fucking sit out. And that's what he did.
And another thing that really helped there, and yes, you're absolutely right, but another thing that helped there
I know I am, or I wouldn't have said it.
was that Regis was a wrestling fan. Those are always the best wrestling celebrities or wrestling fans. Fuck, Regis. Yeah. Regis had wrestlers on his show back to fucking Blassie, in the 60s.
He used to let Blassie throw chairs at him and shit.
And he was a wrestling fan, which again, like I said, always. That's why Tyson was such a great wrestling celebrity. Because he was a fan. He loved it. He just loved being there. And that was, you could tell Regis was just enjoying himself. For so long, he had the wrestlers on his show, and I think he was genuine in the interview he did earlier with Gene, saying, "Now I'm on your show," and he was happy about that. He was cool with it. And
yeah.
Or when he talks about Earthquake and the pizza truck. Regis was a joy during this match and during this show. And I just wanted to bring that up, that I thought that him and Bobby being in the same booth was a really cool... I mean, how cool... And not discounting Gorilla. We all love Gorilla, but how cool must that have been for Gorilla, Like, fuck, I got Bobby Heenan on one side of me and Regis Philbin on the other side of me. How cool am I right now?
Yeah.
So now we get to the match. Slaughter Hogan. I thought that for a Hogan match, it was pretty standard. We had some juice and a decent main event, and it had decent heat. Say what you will about the story leading up to it, but I always, when I watch these shows, I like to put myself in the position I was in at the time, and not the
story leading up was fantastic,
and not the position I'm in now. And at the time, I thought this was really, really cool. And like Aaron said, the story leading up to it was great.
But the match was butt.
And it was, but that's a lot of Hogan stuff. Again, it's the story. So you have the heat on the match, and Hogan gets his Hogan shit in, and that's where you're at. Kyle, what did you
Savage is good.
What did you think about this one, Kyle?
I think it's like any other Hogan match. It's not about the actual match. It's about the one or two moments in the match and then the end.
Yes.
That's all a fucking Hogan match is about. It ain't about the body of the match. It's about he has one or two moments that they can cut back to, throughout time, and then just the end.
And it's like Aaron has said on this show before, if you think that the Hogan formula is a bad way to have a match, then let's check out their gate receipts. That's all I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is what it is. You can say you weren't a Hogan fan, but you fucking were. Chris, what did you think of this one?
Well, I was watching it on mute, so I really didn't get to enjoy the commentary.
You were watching it. You were watching it on mute while we were talking about the perfect boss man match.
I mean, yeah, it's pretty much like what's already been discussed. It was a classic Hogan match. You had your spots. You had everything. You had the guaranteed heat because doing the whole Slaughter as a heel, given the time frame of what was going on with everything, it was pretty much the ultimate display of Vince knowing how to capitalize on current events.
And I think that, and I agree, and I think that I've brought it up a couple of times as we talked about the match, but I think that something that added to this match is they kind of they kind of, as you watch the build to the match, if you watch the build to the match, they talk about how the rules have changed because of Slaughter, and it's Slaughter's rules now, and et cetera, et cetera. So I thought it was cool during the match that they let Hogan get juice. Or that Hogan let himself get juice, I guess I should say, because you didn't see Hogan bleed very often. You're getting to a point, actually, in the WWF at this point where you don't see blood. Unless the wrestlers go outside of Vince's mandate and do it on their own. And I thought that it was a cool touch to this match to kind of take it, you have the Hogan formula, but because of the story, you added the blood just to add that extra level to the Slaughter Hogan angle. All right, so.
One other thing I did right, though, can you imagine today's environment and society putting blood or ripping up a flag?
Oh, God. It would be like Christmas because snowflakes would be all over the place.
Let me ask you guys a question.
Okay.
Do you think that Hogan getting blood in this match is more a case of the fact that the bloom is starting to come off the rose?
Maybe. I've just always viewed it as, because I viewed it as just a way to add an extra touch because of the Slaughter rules thing that they had pushed so hard.
Right.
But I understand what you're saying. Like, were they trying to add an extra edge to the Hogan character? Because...
to me, it feels like they know that Hogan's time is about up. And it's like they're trying to just squeeze out a little bit more.
Right.
Because think about it. After this, it was, Sid's supposed to be the next big guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's Luger, and it feels like that this is the last, Hogan, at his heyday.
Right. Yeah.
Because you go to WrestleMania 8, and yeah, he's in the main event, but the fans are starting to turn on him.
Absolutely. I mean, if you watch the unedited Royal Rumble from '92, they boo the shit out of him when he pulls Sid out.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Overall, Aaron, how many stars? You rate on stars. How many stars did you give WrestleMania 7? He's not even here. Kyle, how many stars did you give WrestleMania 7?
I'm here.
I gave it 3.5 stars out of 5.
Chris?
I'm here.
We hear you. Chris?
I gave it a 4.
Okay. Aaron?
I gave it 4.5 stars.
And I gave it 4 Jeff Farmer Yeps. So I'd say overall, this was a pretty damn good WrestleMania, guys. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed the WrestleMania 7 edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. And just a reminder as we close the show, if you have not yet, join our group on Facebook. It's a lot of fun. Check out the YouTube page. A lot of exclusive things coming to the YouTube page in the year 2020 if we all make it through alive. And also, check out the Asylum group on Facebook if you're a collector of wrestling merchandise. Great group to be a part of. And check out the Asylum Wrestling podcast, also available anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts. So I'm going to sign off right now for Archie, Kyle, Chris, and Aaron. This is Nate Maxson signing off, and we'll see you next time around on the We Can't Wrestle podcast.